Pickle! Hit the arrow sign. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show that slept good last night. My name is Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, texasfootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live, texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or you'll listen to the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part. Support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting here in this chair, over here at this table with a television next to me. There's a ceiling and a floor and all that fun stuff. Sitting over there is the producer of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, the executive producer, Ashley Pickle.
Hey, friends.
Running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to...
We are late. Don't worry. We are late. There have been some technical issues from behind the scenes, but we are on the air. Look at us. We did it. Today is Friday, February 2nd, 2023. 300 days until Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to... Let's see. Who's born February 2nd? If you have a friend who was born February 2nd, you can let them. Today's the birthday of Shakira. Shakira is 47 years old. That's our friend. Happy birthday, Shakira. On today's show, folks, we've got a little bit more. We're going to call it UIL Realignment Upon Further Review. We're going to be spending the next couple of weeks and months breaking down what happened yesterday at UIL Realignment. We will break all that down. We'll start kind of today, some more thoughts after we've had a little bit of time to digest the goings-on yesterday, 9 a.m. When all hell broke loose and the UIL released the new districts for the next 2 years of Texas high school football. We will get into that. And then back half of the show, it's Helpful Honda Mailbag Friday. We're answering your questions about high school football, college football, recruiting, lifestyle, romance, travel, anything you got. Let us know in the comments on Facebook or YouTube. We'll get to as many as we can coming up here at the back half of the program. I am scared to ask.
No.
Okay, I won't ask. Want to remind you to go to texasfootball.com. We had a ton of great content on realignment yesterday. If you go to texasfootball.com, a ton of great content from myself, from Matt Stepp, from Greg Powers. There's breaking coaching news from Corey Hogue and Matt Stepp. Plus, we've got Shrine Bowl content. Our friends from on the college side were over at the Shrine Bowl at the Star in Frisco. If you want to go check that out on texasfootball.com. Okay, so yesterday was a big day in the Texas high school football world. UIL realignment. Every 2 years, the UIL jumbles up all of the things, all the districts, takes the schools and says, all right, let's reshape it. Let's take a look at the way that Texas high school football is going to look for the next 2 years. And I guess to really clarify, the whole crux of it, the reason that we're so interested in UIL realignment is A, yes, of course, it involves every Texas high school football team.
I thought A was that we're nerds, but...
Well, that
I
is...
guess.
Okay,
so 1A.
1A. 1B, it impacts every Texas high school football team. But 1C, you've really thrown me off here.
You're
1C, one of the reasons is that the biggest reason is that this will lay out the path that every team must walk to go to AT&T Stadium in Arlington to play for a state championship. Like the Olton now knows who they have to beat and likely the path they have to walk to win a state championship. Every team does.
I'm interested to hear real fast. I like looking at who's in whose district, don't get me wrong, but I get more enjoyment looking at who ends up in what region.
Yes.
It's not the full pie where like you're looking at the classification and it's not the slice of pie, but it's like, man, there's still half a pie left over for dessert in the morning. Like, what are we working with, you know?
you're spot on.
Well, yeah, I talked about pie.
That's true. The top layer, right? The top layer is district. Oh, wow, like Highland Park's in District 7 with Lufkin. They're going to have to play them, right? That's the top layer. Where you really start digging deep and where you know that you're kind of a Texas high school football sicko is when you start paying attention to the regions.
Yeah.
Because, like for example, think about March Madness. Okay. So let's just say that North Texas was a number 1 seed. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's say they're a number 1 seed.
What a time to be alive.
You could say, oh, look, they're playing St. Mary's in the tournament, in the first round. And that's true. But more importantly, you may be looking at saying, oh, they are in the same – the number 2 seed is Kentucky. The team they would see in a regional final would be Kentucky. You would, if you zoom out, that's where you get the real kind of nerd stuff. And so one thing I looked at, and by my count, I was doing some math last night, some maths, and I count 151 teams that changed regions. 151
That's a
out
lot.
of 1,257. 151. That, by the way, does not count a team like Pflugerville-Weiss, because Pflugerville-Weiss is dropping down a classification, and they are moving from Region 2 to Region 3. That's obviously noteworthy, but we knew that there was going to be a change for them.
Regardless.
Regardless. So
you're not going to be playing the same teams that you were playing last year.
Correct. So this is just region changes. And so then I kind of fooled around with some numbers and figured out, all right, these were, according to our computer rankings, the highest rated teams that changed regions. So theoretically, the contenders, this is not a complete list of contenders, I just did the top 10. The contenders that changed regions whose path to AT&T Stadium was entirely changed yesterday. So the first one's not going to be a surprise to people. It's Port Neches Groves. They won a state championship. They swing from Region 3 to Region 2. The other thing about that is, again, you get into real nerd stuff. It's not just changing regions. They are changing sides of the bracket, okay? That is the Cowboys going from the NFC to the AFC. That's a huge, huge change to flip sides of the bracket. The second rated one is Gordon. Gordon flipped from, in the 1A Division I state champion, they moved from Region 3 to Region 4. Same side of the bracket. They're still out east, as they would say in six-man terms, but they go to Region 4. That's a big change. Smithson Valley, a team that played for a state championship last year, will move to Region 4 in 5A Division I. Lovejoy, we talked to head coach Todd Dodge yesterday. They're moving from Region 2 to Region 1 in 5A Division II. Montgomery Lake Creek along for the ride with Port Neches Groves. They're moving from Region 3 to Region 2. Again, flipping sides of the bracket, NFC to AFC, right? Decatur, flipping sides of the bracket. Flipping region from 1 to 2. Melissa, moving from 2 to 1. Chilton, we talked about them going into the same district as Mart. Again, that's one of those things where you can focus on the fact that, oh, wow, Chilton is now in a district with Mart. More importantly, they're now in District 10, whereas before they were in District 13. They're in an entirely different region. They're going to play teams from Central Texas and East Texas instead of teams from South Texas and Southeast Texas in the playoffs. Oglesby, who played for a state championship in the 1A Division 1 in 1A Division 2 ranks, they're moving from Region 3 to Region 4. And then Bremont. Bremont's along for the ride as well with Chilton moving from from Region 4 to Region 3. And again, this doesn't count teams that are also changing classifications, right? This doesn't count Austin LBJ. Austin LBJ is in Region 4, whereas in their Region 3 in 5A Division 2, but they're dropping down a classification. We knew there was going to be a change. This is all news from yesterday. Every team on that list right there got news yesterday that, oh, wow, our path to AT&T Stadium is going to look very, very different. So the other ripple effect that comes down, and by the way, I mentioned this in my article on TexasFootball.com. It's worth remembering that while UIL realignment is obviously an enormous deal, it is not set yet. It is not firmly 100% set. There are teams that are inevitably going to appeal. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know the appeals process, there's two ways. One appeal process is a team is in the pickle district and they want to be in the
best district,
but they don't want to be in the pickle district for the sake of this argument.
We can't all have good taste.
They want to be in the Tepper district.
Oh God, we can all. Apparently, some people have bad taste.
So that team says, "Hey, everyone in the pickle district, will you agree to let me out of the district?"
In which I would say, yeah, you don't want to be in, get out.
It has to be unanimous. Every team has to. Then they have to ask the Tepper district, "Hey, Tepper district, will you guys let us in?" It is unanimous. It has to be unanimous on both sides. But if it is in the two districts, then that just happens. You inform the UIL, "Hey, we're changing to this district." It was unanimous. Bada bing, bada boom, it's done. Okay? If it is not unanimous, then it goes to the UIL, and you have to go and send the appeal to the UIL. I know that there are one thing you have to remember with the UIL, we talked about with Dr. Jamie Harrison. They're in constant communication with teams. They're always talking with teams, especially teams with, as they say, travel burdens. Mm-hmm. And they're always asking them, what would you rather do? What do you want to do? What do you think?
I always use Brownwood as the example.
Brownwood's an example.
Their classification, they're kind of out in no man's land.
I don't know this for a fact, but I would be very, very surprised if Sammy Burnett had not talked with the UIL sometime in the last couple months.
Yeah.
About realignment.
In which he said, "Yeah, and how about Stephenville?"
And there are some. One of the things that the UIL does is they will do alignments to give teams the most options. In the sense of, they will say, "Hey, we're going to put you here, but if you appeal to this district, we will support your appeal." As opposed to if you put them in the other district, then you're kind of stuck and we won't support that appeal. So it is not done. There will be some appeals that come down, but I would say for 99% of the teams, where they are is where they are. You also start getting into non-district season. Teams, of course, as soon as you know who's in your district, you want to go and find some non-district games, depending on the number of district opponents, right? And so what's interesting about that, obviously there are teams that I know yesterday, for example, Aledo was put into a 9-team district. I believe they already had a week 3 game scheduled, and they had to call them and say, "Hey, sorry, but we can't do this anymore. Like, we're going to be playing a district game then. Like, we have 8 district games. We can't play a third non-district game. I'm sorry." You also have on the other side where teams are put into small districts and they have to scramble to find other non-district games. And so that is how you do get some very strange district contests. For example, Pickle, did you hear about the one that's going down in Houston in week 6? This was reported by Carl Padilla. So we mentioned yesterday on the show, District 32 6A is shocking.
Yes.
In the sense that it is a 5-team district in 6A. That almost never happens.
Especially down there in the valley.
Down there in the valley.
Like, that's like a sin.
So what you're saying is those teams, if they want to play a 10-game schedule, they have to find 6 non-district games. 6. And there's just not a lot of teams that need 6 non-district games, and so you get late into the season, middle of the season, right? And there's just not a lot of takers, especially the 6A level. And that is why in week 6 we will have San Benito versus Carthage in Houston.
That rocks so hard.
Yeah. So that is a game that is happening. Is one of the strangest games I think I've ever heard.
That's so awesome. Also, shout out to San Benito for being like, yeah,
I mean,
we're going to go for it.
It is a 6A against a 4A Division II.
And San Benito has not been bad the past couple of years. Don't come after me, Carthage. Like, you're going to be the favorite by a couple of touchdowns, but
maybe. Let me look at this. I'm gonna go look at last year. Like at the end of last year, according to our computer, I can look this up real quick. You're listening to live coverage of me looking up what a hypothetical game between San Benito and Carthage would be.
Those are words I never expected to hear. Come out of
Carthage
your mouth.
the computer would have installed Carthage as a 3-point favorite.
Really? Okay.
A 3-point favorite. It's closer than you think. Now, that's a computer model,
Yeah.
right? But San Benito did go 10-2 last year.
Yeah, I was gonna say they
in
were
6A. Okay. Speaking of Carthage, do you have the video that I put on the thread?
Yes.
I want to show you another thing that happens every year, and that is, so when you need non-district games, and at these there are these kind of meetings all around the state. When you need non-district games, obviously you're looking for teams kind of in your weight class. If you're a team that you think is not going to be very good, you probably don't want to square up with a team that's going to launch you into the sun.
Yeah.
Right? But if you are a team that tends to launch teams into the sun, it may be hard to find takers. And so I'd like to take you to this video from our friend Brandon Ogden, who shot this at the East Texas kind of meetup yesterday. Out there in the red sweater. Play that one more time. That there in the red sweater is... That man right there, sitting and looking at his phone, is Carthage head coach Scott Surratt.
Who no one wants to sit at the lunch table with.
The loneliest man in UIL realignment. The loneliest man on Thursday was Scott Surratt. Because first of all, there's teams there that, like, I want you to think about it. In non-district, you're definitely not playing anybody in your district.
No.
Right? So anybody in your district, you're not playing them. You can't. I guess you could, but you can't.
Seems kind of dumb.
You're probably not playing anybody in your region because they know they're going to have to beat you down the road.
Yep.
Right? Sometimes it happens, but it's kind of like a last resort type thing. And then you get to the fact that you're Carthage and nobody wants to play you.
Especially, like, out there. Like, it would be different if Scott Surratt was at the DFW one in Birdville, and it's, like, some 5A teams going, you know what? Like,
Maybe,
we're looking for this, and if we're going to play someone that we know is going to give us a tough time in a lower classification, Carthage is going to be the one that you do. But no one in East Texas is going to do that because they're all, like, a lot of teams are smaller than them, to be honest.
Yeah, or if they're not smaller than them, they're not as good.
Good, yeah.
And so you're right. If he had been in Birdville, he might have had more takers. That's why he's on his phone. He's probably talking with Dan Gomez at San Benito.
Yeah.
But the other thing about that, though, is you have to be, like, you want to be at your local meeting because part of the whole point of those get-togethers is to talk with your district.
Yeah, there's a ton of district meetings.
They get together and say, okay, let's figure it out.
Because you're trying to figure out home and away schedules.
Exactly. And you're trying to figure those things out. And so he needs to be there, but, like, everyone there is like, okay, if I don't have to play you, I'd prefer not to.
So he sits in the back on his phone.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay.
That's great.
He's the loneliest man, the least popular guy. Like, Gary Joseph was not popular yesterday.
No.
Kevin Hoffman at Mart was not popular
Randy
yesterday.
Allen was
Randy
not.
Allen.
We saw Coach Allen a bunch.
Yeah, and, like, nobody, like, everyone, like, would come to it, like, no, I
Yep,
don't know.
Coach Todd was there.
Jason Todd at South Oak Cliff, not popular yesterday.
No. He was cutting it up with people, but not many people were asking to play him.
Absolutely. Anyway, we're going to have a lot of coverage of UIL realignment coming up here over the next couple weeks, months. We got a lot to digest before we get to football in August. We are at Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. We did forget to do something, and I want to make sure we do that now, and that is we got to spin the wheel. We're going to spin the wheel and find out who the Texas High School Football Team of the Day is. If you have an idea of what we can do with this, let us know in the comments. But today's Texas High School Football Team of the Day is the Patriots of Lakeview Centennial High School.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to Lakeview Centennial, the Texas High School Football Team of the Day here on Texas Football Today. Go Patriots, and now you are removed from the wheel.
Bye-bye. You've been cut off.
And now, oh, by the way, it's helpful on a Mailbag Friday. Get your questions in on Facebook and YouTube about high school ball, college football, recruiting, lifestyle, romance, travel, realignment. Get your questions in. We'll go for a few minutes here in a moment. But first, a word from these goods and services.
I feel like bustin' loose, bustin' loose. Come on, get on up. Oh yeah, get on up.
I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
Wing is the largest residential drone delivery provider in the world, delivering to your home in less than 30 minutes. Order using an app just like other popular delivery services, and Wing's automated drone takes care of the rest. It's fast, safe, and sustainable, and it's now delivering to parts of Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. You can learn more at wing.com/TexasFootball. Again, that's wing.com/TexasFootball.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texans love doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
All right, Pickle. It's time for Helpful Honda Mailbag Friday.
The North Texas Honda dealers want to help you score on award-winning Hondas like the rugged and reliable 2024 Honda Ridgeline. Go visit your helpful North Texas Honda dealers today, or you can visit them online at ntxhondadealers.com to learn more.
You know, on the way to Birdville yesterday,
Yeah.
I was next to, on the highway, a Honda Ridgeline.
Did it look rugged
And
and reliable?
I don't know what year it was, to be clear. Like, not offhand. I looked over and I was like, dang. That looks rugged and reliable.
Solid.
Shout out to Honda. It's Helpful Honda Mailbag Friday. We're answering your questions. High school ball, college football, recruiting, lifestyle, romance, travel, realignment. Get them in the comments on Facebook and on YouTube. Of course, TexasFootball.com for all your football needs. Do we have any questions from the people? Or do you have any questions for me? We never talk.
No, I ain't got any questions for you, but I do have questions from the people. Thoughts on opt-ups based on performance like the Golden Triangle trio of Bridge City, Liberty, and Hardin-Jefferson?
Yeah, so opting up, if you didn't know, just every podcast somebody's first, you can opt up a classification. You can opt up as high as you want, if you want.
Carthage could literally say, we're going to play 6A ball.
Yeah, if Carthage wanted to play 6A, they could. Like, and the UIL would just say, okay, yeah, we'll do that. And as soon as you tell the UIL, like, they're just like, okay, check. We're moving you into that bucket. So, like, as soon as DeSoto, the moment DeSoto told the UIL, hey, we want to play 6A, they say, cool, you're in a 6A district. We'll put you in the 6A district. It is a challenge, obviously, because when you're moving up, that is, you're gonna face tougher competition, larger schools. For a team like Bridge City, Liberty, and Hardin-Jefferson moving up to 4A Division I, they land in 10 4A Division I. Look, I think for Liberty, you got to remember, they were getting absolutely clobbered by Silsby, by West Orange Stark, programs like that. They were in many respects trying to find I don't want to say a way out, but basically they wanted to find a place where they could contend a little bit better. Now, look, and it's strange to say, but like 4A Division I in Region 3, in that part of the world, I think it has more manageable teams. Now, they land into a district that's not exactly a cakewalk. They're going to have to deal with teams like Lumberton. They get in the 10 4A Division I. They'll have to deal with teams like Little Cypress, Mauriceville, Viter, programs like that. it's always a decision, and you got to remember it's for all sports too. We focus so much on football, but if you opt up, you're opting up for all sports. I would say for those programs, it's a unique situation where I think from a competitive perspective, this is probably the right move because otherwise you're going to get fed to Silsbee and West Orange Stark every year.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say for those teams, it probably ends up being a pretty good move. My numbers show that, their draw got easier, got better this year.
Which is crazy because, you
moving up.
just always assume that moving up is a bad thing, and it's like, not always.
Not necessarily. In certain parts of the state, like down there in southeast Texas, it's probably served them well. And so, I don't begrudge anybody doing that. If that's the situation that works for you, then it did. And I think for those teams, they had a relatively soft landing, the landing they were hoping for when they decided to opt up. Another program, Joshua is kind of the other side of it. Now, Joshua, they didn't opt up necessarily for competitive reasons.
Yep.
But
they got thrown into a blender.
They opted up, and they got absolutely handled as far as
I think that they
concerned.
were very much anticipating that they were going to end up in a different district.
I think they were thinking they were going to go State West and go with like Fort Worth schools.
And
but
they
didn't.
ended up
or like you remember
getting a ton of travel
because
and a ton of competition.
Because they were supposed to drop down to 4A or to 5A Division 2. They were like, I think they were like, okay, we're gonna move up to 5A Division 1. I think for travel reasons, I would need to talk with Coach Andy Arman about that. But it is instead they get lumped into that wide-ranging District 7 5A Division 1 that stretches all the way to Lufkin, which is not only from a travel perspective tough, but from a competitive perspective.
Oh yeah,
Red Oak, we're focusing so much on the travel, and I understand why. But like Highland Park, Red Oak, Midlothian, Burleson Centennial, Tyler, Lufkin. That's 6 quality playoff caliber programs.
Oh yeah,
right there. I don't know. What's next, Pickle?
Can a district petition to swap regions, not just a team swapping districts for travel purposes?
Great question. No.
Yeah.
They cannot. If you're put in District 8, the only thing you can do is you can go and you can petition to join another district if you think that makes more sense.
So if you think you could get into District 9, then technically you could switch regions, but that's the only way that's possible.
Yeah, the only way. There's no way to change a district number.
No.
Like to take, District 3, we think you should be District 5. There's no way to do that. The UIL sets the district numbers, and that's the way that it works. And, if you take a look at it, generally speaking, we mentioned this in the Realignment video, they try to go kind of more or less clockwise around the state, right? They'll go, District 1's always basically as far west as it can get, whether it's in El Paso or whether it's in the Panhandle, and then it kind of works its way around. Where you get into it is you get into, like, where do you put Central Texas? Because they're close to the bullseye, right? And so Central Texas, that's why you have teams that can be theoretically like any region. You know what I mean? We've had teams that have gone – we had teams yesterday that flopped from Region 4 to Region 1.
Yep.
Like Burnet, Lampasas, Marble Falls, flipped from Region 4 to Region 1 because of that. Because they're kind of in the – as I would say, in the closer to the bullseye.
Yep.
And so as a result, the Central Texas can be maneuverable. And that's why you have Central Texas districts that are in Region 2, Region 3, Region 4. But yeah, as far as they make those decisions as far as what district numbers they are, and those district numbers are those district numbers. So that's the way it goes. What's next, Pickle?
Why you mentioned it's funny you kind of mentioned this a second ago, but why do you think DeSoto made the decision to opt out of going to 5A?
It's a great question. Travel's certainly part of it.
Yeah.
Because if you take a look at 5A Division 1, I mean, they were probably looking at that and be like, I don't know if I want to get sent to Lufkin. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you could range as far as Lufkin to Aledo would definitely be a possibility.
Or south. They could go to Central Texas.
Yep.
Right? I think travel.
So then you're traveling down to Waco basically the whole time.
As opposed to the district they're in now, which is
20 miles of each other.
I mean, it's a Dallas district.
It might be a diameter of 20 miles.
Yeah, I mean,
not even a radius.
The farthest they have to travel is probably Skyline, and that's just into Dallas. You know what I mean? From DeSoto, so it's not that far of a drive. Travel's probably the biggest part of it. I'm sure they had conversations about it because here's the thing: if they went into 5A Division 1 next year, they'd be the prohibitive favorite, and not just in football. They'd be a prohibitive favorite in track. They'd be a prohibitive favorite.
Girls basketball.
Like, they would be a big time favorite. And I know what I'm saying there. Like, I know Alito lives in 5A Division 1.
Uh-huh.
DeSoto, like, 2024 DeSoto would be favored over 2024 Alito. I'd love to see 2023 teams play, but we're not going to get that. 2024, based on what we're likely to see, DeSoto will be favored over Alito. And so what I think they looked at is probably saying, all right, we think from a travel perspective, we're going to opt up, even if it means it's going to be a little bit a little bit of a tougher road. I think the difference between 5A Division 1 and 6A, especially 6A Division 2, is relatively negligible. But I think that they looked at it from a travel perspective and said, this makes the most sense for us. This is from a travel perspective, it's the safer pick that we kind of know what's going to happen. Like, they're not going to DeSoto in 6A, they're not going to be like, all right, you got to go to Odessa now. You know what I mean? You kind of know. I think they took the bird in the hand, is what I'm saying. The two in the bush would have been the dropping down and going potentially to 5A Division 1, where you'd be the big fish in the small pond. I will say this, in a world where there is no division split, like if 6A didn't have a 6A Division 1, 6A Division 2, this might be a different calculus. But 6A Division 2, they will be 6A Division 2, obviously, because they were going to be 5A Division 1. They're the smallest team. They are the smallest team in their district. Mm-hmm. So they will be 5A Division 2, or 6A Division 2, when the brackets come out. And they've won it the last 2 years. I think that they looked at that and said, all right, we might as well ease our travel burden as much as we can. Well, that's my guess. I have not talked with anybody at DeSoto. I haven't talked with Claude Mathis. My guess is that that's what he would
Well,
say.
And when all of that lines up and you can go, okay, if we go down to 5A and we just run the table, people are going to say, oh, yeah, well, they got scared and they went down to 5A. I also think DeSoto is a program that's really proud of the athletes that they have and know that they have another shot to run it with the big guys. So that, I mean, obviously, you're not going to tell your superintendent that, but I would assume that was a little bit of it. Claude likes the spotlight. Coach Mathis likes that kind of stuff. Yeah. And if everything else makes sense with it, why not stay there?
That's exactly right. We know we can compete. The travel burden works out.
And if we were to three-peat, no one's saying
exactly right.
that, oh, yeah, well, you three-peated, asterisk,
by
you moved
down
yep.
a classification.
Yep. And
exactly.
So, you want that smoke, he's going to give you the smoke.
That is reason number 9.
Yes.
But it is on the list.
But it makes sense. If you're going to three-peat, do it by opting up. Don't do it dropping down.
All right. You got one or two more?
Yeah, I got one more. Which school do you genuinely feel good for the district and region they got yesterday?
Hewitt Midway. I'll tell you why. Midway, again, one of those Central Texas teams. There is always, and they're the northern part of Waco.
Yes.
There is always a chance that they get sent north. You remember a couple of years ago, they were in that district of doom. Mm-hmm. They were in with the Duncanvilles and DeSotos.
Yep.
And I would love to see a hypothetical map where DeSoto doesn't opt up.
Yeah.
And maybe they're looking for one more, and they loop in Hewitt Midway.
Yep.
But for Hewitt Midway, I think yesterday was a really, really good draw. Other teams that I think they probably ended up getting the better end of it, in my opinion. Let me look over this real quick. You're watching live coverage of me trying to figure out who won out yesterday. North Mesquite and West Mesquite. Mm-hmm. Right? They go from 7-5A Division 1, where they were kind of getting their teeth kicked in, over to 6-5A Division 1, which is, in my opinion, much, much, much more manageable, where they're going to deal with the Carrollton schools and the Dallas ISD schools. That's like a huge, huge win for them. Who else? I feel good. I think Canton landed pretty softly. Canton was a team that you remember last alignment, they're in 8-4A Division 2, which I'm fairly certain is the Carthage district, right? They move over to 6-4A Division 2, where they will now deal with Ferris, Kemp, Quinlan, Ford, Sunnyvale, and Wills Point. They get sent west, basically, to closer to DFW, instead of going east with Carthage. And I think they are like, yep, That works for me. Yeah. Thank you very much. You mean we get to play in Region 2 and don't have to deal with Gilmer, Pleasant Grove, or Carthage in District?
In that scenario, all you do is you go, okay, thank you, and then you leave
you
before
run.
they change their mind.
Run.
Like sprint.
Absolutely. I think they were relatively big winners yesterday. Who else? I think yeah. Like, I feel good for Sunray.
You're talking yourself into this one.
I know. I feel good for Sunray. Now, I think this is the likeliest path, but there was a chance Sunray got there. They were moving up. Remember, Sunray was moving up to 2A Division 1, right? The Armando Luan experience is coming to 2A Division 1. And they are far north, but there was a chance they get looped in with, like, Abernathy and New Home and some of those programs, and they didn't. And I think that they got a relatively decent landing there for moving up. That's a team that I feel pretty good about as far as a relative winner. Yeah.
Our king, Armando Luan.
Armando Luan. Shout out Armando Luan. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook. Facebook.com/Dave Campbells. Follow us on Instagram. Instagram.com/Dave Campbells. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tupper. Vince Young, please meet your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Football Today.
No, today's Friday. I'm not coming in.
We'll see you Monday on Texas Football Today.